Hey everybody, it's Missy.
It's April.
And this is Sheela Na Gig. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for being here. How are you doing, April?
I'm well, thank you. How are you doing?
Grateful every day. That's what I am.
Oh, yeah.
Despite any challenges, I'm grateful every day. But I'm also very excited today. And that's because we have a special guest.
We do.
Yay! Yay. I'm very excited. I love it when we have a special guest, and this is a particularly interesting guest. Her name is Michele C. Hollow, and I am going to tell you a little bit about Michele here in her bio. Michele C. Hollow writes about health, mental health, autism, aging, animals, and climate. Her byline has appeared in the New York Times, Next Avenue, The Guardian, Parents, AARP, and the Costco Connection. She mostly covers news and features and has done some nonprofit writing for the International Fund for Animal Welfare and Family Promise, a nonprofit that helps homeless families, and the Simons Foundation, an autism research nonprofit. Wow. She has written a few books, including Jurassic Girl, which we'll be discussing today.
Yes, we read.
As well as The Everything Guide to Working with Animals, published with Adams Media in 2009, and a middle grade biography on the Grateful Dead.
Oh, my husband is a huge Dead.
I know. I need to be excited about that, right? It was actually updated and reissued in 2019. So again, right up April's alley. You know, my husband's a big fan too.
Yeah, great. We both have deadhead husbands.
Me, not so much, but it's okay. Like I appreciate their musical, Anyway,
moving right along.
Jurassic Girl is Michelle's first historical novel for middle grade readers, and it came out fairly recently, I believe on September 10th, 2024. It is about Mary Anning's first major fossil discovery at the age of 12.
Yeah, amazing.
My daughter's 12. That's crazy. Back in 1811, the men in the London Geological Society called her a fraud. They didn't believe that a girl could make such an amazing find. And Mary triumphed, though, and today she's known as the mother of paleontology. Michele lives in New Jersey with her husband, Stephen, and their rescue cat, Chai. And she also has 2 grown sons. She's an award-winning writer and editor, and we will certainly post where you can find her clips. But in the meantime, you can check her out, her website, and that is Michele C. Hollow, and that's Michele with 1 L, C. Hollow, HOLLOW.com. Welcome, Michele.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited.
We're very excited too. And you're coming to us from the other coast in New Jersey. And I know you guys were talking a little bit before the podcast. You and April are both New Yorkers.
We're both New Yorkers.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I have to say, Michele, I was going to peruse your book and just sort of get a gist of it. And I ended up reading it cover to cover in one sitting. What an easy, delightful, compelling read.
Yes.
I loved it.
And by design, I have not read it yet.
Yes.
Because I'm going to be in the dark today a little bit. So I'm excited to read it. I will be reading it coming up.
Yeah.
Yes. April brought it to me. So maybe I'll read it tonight. Hey.
But Michele, why don't you go ahead and tell us what inspired you to write the book and tell us about Mary.
Okay. I work as a journalist, and I get to interview a wide range of people that do very good things, whether it's helping animals or elderly or children. And a few of my readers told me about Mary Anning, and I did not know who she was. She was born in 1799 on the Jurassic Coast in a town called Lyme Regis. And at age 12, she made this fantastic discovery. She discovered a 17-foot fossil. It's called an ichthyosaurus, and it's part lizard, part fish. It was very, very odd looking, a long snout and huge teeth. It was in the cliffs, and you'd have to imagine where she lived. Her father took her out when she was like age 5 and taught her everything about fossil hunting, even gave her sharp knives and tools to a 5-year-old. And her was more of a worrisome person who was like, because her dad would have taken her out earlier. And the mom was like, no, absolutely not. We're not giving her sharp implements. So she loved fossil hunting. I mean, and you have to realize the size of this place. If you look at the pictures of Google Lyme Regis, You'll see the cliffs and how high they are and the ocean there and the seashore. It's like, where do you look? And she knew where to look. And she loved going out, rain or shine. This was a passion of hers. And her issue was being female, being a girl, being 12 years old, coming from a poor family. And back then, if you didn't have money, you were self-educated. Well, you had to pay to go to school. So she was self-educated. She loved to read. And what's not to like about her? And what
sounds amazing. Sounds amazing.
You've made such a wonderful, likable character. I just fell in love with her. And one of the things that I loved about one of the dilemmas that you showed us rather than told us is how hard it was to go fossil hunting in dresses. She couldn't wear slacks.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. And the thing about it is we often fall in love with our Sheilas. That's what we say. Like we fully fall in love with our Sheilas. And obviously you have fallen in love with your Sheela and are now sharing her with the world. And now we're falling in love with her too, which is amazing. Yeah. Can I just get back to a little bit to what, the beginning of her story here? So she found did you say 17-foot?
Yes. Her brother first saw something in the cliffs, first the skull and then the body.
I just read it. It was the skull.
So this is like an isolated area. This is not someplace that there's a lot of population and people. It's close to her home, but it's kind of an isolated area that, she maybe explores in by the ocean, these cliffs, not a lot of people around to discover it other than maybe her. And she just happens to be looking in these cliffs with her brother and discovers this, correct?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. This is, I'm very enthralled. Okay. Pray do tell more.
It's wonderful and I call there is a Lyme Regis Museum and they have a Mary Anning wing that is about 2 years old now. And the researchers there were wonderful because I kept on sending them question after question and they answered all of them, which was great. We were doing this long distance and just picture a huge beach. So with cliffs and here you are, it's huge. We're talking miles and just to discover something like this and finding the skull first. And then she was determined to find the body. And the men in the Geological Society said, no, you didn't do this because obviously your girl couldn't do it. And what I love is when I go to schools to talk to kids in elementary or middle school, the girls have come up to me after with their fist raised and they're like, girl power, girl power. So
it's girl power. We agree. I love that.
Mary. I've got Mary in my brain. Do you want to circle back to the dad and how he kind of tipped them off to find the head?
Mm-hmm. The dad was a cabinet maker and he hated his job, it sounds like, from the research that I've done. He would have liked to have been out on the beach all the time, rain or shine, it didn't matter, fossil hunting, because that's what he wanted to do. And Mary made money. She sold fossils to tourists, small little amphibians. But that helped a lot. And of course, selling the ichthyosaurus, and unfortunately, she didn't get written up in the Geological Society's newsletter. The man who she sold it to was listed as the discoverer, the founder of this.
Right.
So
and didn't he end up selling it for more money than Mary got?
Yes.
So she was undercut twice.
Okay, so she sold this fossil, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. How do you sell a 17-foot fossil? I'm just trying to imagine. Did he show up with a truck and how does that work?
Well, people had to help her. This was in the cliffs. She had to climb and create a whole maze of how to get up there, ladders with string and wood, just climb. And again, we talked about the dress. We're talking ankle length.
Yes. And there were no trucks, by the way. I didn't really mean a truck.
No, but that's okay. But the whole idea, it's not like if I'm going out on a hunt, I would be wearing, on a fossil hunt, I'd be wearing jeans and comfortable shoes, but no heels.
Yes.
This adds to the difficulty, I believe. And so she discovered this. And there were people there that witnessed that she had discovered this. But once she freed the body and the head from the cliffs, it had to be cleaned. And this is not, there's millions of years of soot and dirt, and it's not like something that you could just pick out of the ocean and, oh, here it is. And it's so huge. So this was a big undertaking. And
one of the things that really moved me so much was how her father taught her to be painstaking and careful in getting the skeleton separated from the rocks. And you would describe her as very excited and, enthusiastic and impatient. And yet she seemed to exercise inordinate amounts of patience getting that fossil ready, to be free.
Well, you had to also. I mean, it would be nice if you could just pluck it out and say, oh, here, this is all assembled, but it doesn't work that way. Right. So she and her dad had a very close relationship. Obviously, they loved each other very much, and he passed his passion of fossil hunting on to her, and she loved it. As I said, rain or shine, she was out there. And it's hard being out there. And they lived in the poorer section of town, which was on the lower end of this big, tall mountain. And often her house was flooded. They had to go up to the second floor to escape from the rains inside. So there were a lot of hardships that she went through, but it seemed from all the research that she really loved doing the hunt, digging for fossils. And she had
share that passion.
He did. He was more practical. Her mom and her brother seemed to be the practical ones in the family. Look, we need to put food on the table. We need to pay rent. So he became an explorer. And they were very lucky that this was in Lyme Regis as opposed to London back in the early 1800s. Children worked, 12 years old, 10 years old in factories. You made a mistake, you could get whipped. I mean, it was horrible. It was really, really hard.
Of course. But her main job was selling fossils, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And the way you tell it, Michele, she started off just informally, like tourists would come to the area and she'd introduce them and entice them and sell them. And she was quite a negotiator. I don't know if that was your edification or she really was shrewd.
From what I learned, she loved doing this. And her friend, Elizabeth Philpott, who is about 10 years older than her, because when you're 12, you don't really have a 22-year-old friend. But Elizabeth loved fossil hunting too. And they would gather together at the seaside. And Mary had her dog Trey there. And Mary and Elizabeth would hunt for fossils. And Elizabeth came from a well-to-do family. She was at the top of the hill at her home. And she had books in her home that Mary got to look at and read. And Mary wanted to educate herself. She relished knowledge. She loved learning. So, I mean, how can you not like that either? So I'm biased. I really, really liked Mary Anning. And I know last year, more people in the UK know her than they do here in the States because that's where she's from. And they came out with a Mary Anning wing at the museum, and they came out with a postage stamp, a Mary Anning postage stamp.
That's wonderful. Yeah,
she got her own stamp. Well deserved, really, right?
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I grew up in Michigan. And our stone there is the Petoskey. And basically it's petrified coral. And it's the Petoskey stone. And so everybody in Michigan, it's a big thing, especially when you go up to the Great Lakes and up to Northern Michigan, you go on Petoskey hunts. Like that's the thing to do. And I spent my childhood up in Northern Michigan in the summers, and all I did was hunt for Petoskies. It was like my favorite thing to do in the world. I had like a whole team, we would actually sell them too. We would go to the rock shop and we would sell them. And sometimes we'd set up a little stand by the road. And so this is like really like speaking my language here. Like I got this. And when I bring my kids back, and my kids are city kids, I raised in LA, I take them back there and I'm like, we're going to look for Petoskies, you guys. But they started to kind of get into it too. And it really is, I don't know, I always thought it was very therapeutic and just very interesting. They're all different, obviously, in any fossil. It sounds really like a wonderful childhood. It sounds like really lovely in a lot of ways. I'm sure there were a lot of hardships too. And the fact they had to do it in skirts does not sound very exciting, but it definitely sounds so wonderful.
And Michelle, can you clarify who came up with the idea to turn part of their house into a shop, like a fossil shop where people could come?
She wanted to, that was a good way to earn money. And she had part of her mom's practicality as, we really need to do this instead of eating porridge every night for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because it was affordable. Meat was very rare. She just wanted to contribute, but it was more than that. She wanted to do the hunt for the fossils because it was something that she was so passionate about.
And it sounds like her brother was kind of the business. He'd say, go out and find some fossils. Let's hustle these fossils. And, she was kind of more the passion.
Yeah, she and her father were the dreamers. Her brother probably would have been. I mean, he also enjoyed, people there did that. They hunted for fossils.
Yeah.
And when tourists from London would come over, it's like, do you want to buy these? And it's cool finding something that's so old. That's history. I'm not a collector per se, but I do. One of my friends sent me a very, very tiny piece of an ichthyosaurus. That's something I will say. I mean, it's like a freckle size, but it's something. It's not something I'm going to toss. So she loves
special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she spent her whole life on Lyme Regis. She was, as I said, dirt poor, but she was able to financially contribute to help pay for and put food on the table.
That's wonderful.
You put it into perspective, their poverty, that she spent a year preparing, how do you pronounce it? Ichthyosaurus? How do you pronounce?
Ichthyosaurus. Yeah, I learned how to spell it. It's like something.
She spent a year preparing it for sale. The fact that from her perspective, it had to be sold because that was how they were going to eat and pay rent. Mm-hmm. That it was never like had Elizabeth found it, maybe she would have been more interested in it going into a museum and being more educational oriented. But for Mary, that was a matter of survival. And that really touched me, the difference that happens when you're poor and how a passion that could be shared just for its passion and education was turned into a resource. And like I said, she got the short end of the real value of that find.
Yeah, well, it's sad that she was kind of in that situation where she did have to sell it. It was out of necessity.
Yeah.
Can I ask how much she sold it for? I mean, obviously that's a relative question, whatever, but like for those times, like what was the value at that time that she sold it for? Do you know?
$1,000, but back then, like today, that's way more, way more. So it's
it was a large sum of money.
Yeah, it helped them for about 6 months, with food and rent and such. But it wasn't like, oh, you're set for life. And she did.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
When she was older, like 29, she discovered a pterosaur. She did make other discoveries along the way. But the little ammonites, if you're a tourist from London or another town, you can come here and you can get an ammonite for a few dollars and bring that home. That's something different. It's not like, a bus or something, it's really, it has history. It has definite history. So.
Absolutely. So this happened when she discovered it when she was 12. She sells it, you say 6 months to prepare it or whatever?
I think it was like
a year. Okay. So she's 13 when they sell it and then they're good for about 6 months. And then what happens from there, Michelle?
She continued. She went out as often as she could, rain or shine, and just found other things. Like she found the pterosaur, which is a flying reptile, the one with the big wings.
Yeah.
And again, when I talk to kids, they know so much about dinosaurs. Put me to shame. They really, really are into dinosaurs. I think we all went through a dinosaur phase.
Right. Yeah. So she went on did this become then, her life's passion? Did she continue to go on and discover throughout her life? She was a paleontologist.
Yeah. I mean, she died at age 47. People back then didn't live as long. Breast cancer, we didn't know what that was back then. She found a plesiosaurus, which are those groups of long neck, four-flippered marine reptiles. This is the seaside. So it's sea creatures that don't exist anymore. And I was very amazed, and what really drew me in was, imagine finding something that lived so many millions of years ago that most people have never seen before, and you're looking at something that is so foreign. It just raises so many questions, and
It really
you
does,
want
yeah.
her, and she had that hunger. She really liked finding out the answers. You wanted to know, what is this? Where did it come from? Why, what was its life like? And she just hungered for knowledge. She was very, very smart. And the fact that people said, nope, you didn't. And she's like, yes, I'm going to prove it. And she did. So.
And she did. Can you talk a little bit about that, her struggle for recognition and credit for her rightful contributions?
It's really hard if you do something amazing and then the head of like the London Geological Society, George Cuvier, who also found a lot of different fossils, learned man, very well respected, would not put her in the newsletter, didn't even want to talk to her, like, you didn't do this. He really didn't believe that she did something like this. So it's like, here you did something so amazing, and people are like, nope, stop. That's the end. And, I'm sure she had rough days, and that would get to me. It would get to anybody, but she persisted and she triumphed. So, I mean, I love that. I love that about her, that she's like, I did do this. So.
And how many years was that from the time that she sold the fossil that she finally got that recognition?
It was after her death.
After her death?
Yeah. That
I didn't realize that.
That's such a bummer. She never. Did she have children?
No, she didn't marry.
Okay, but her family, I'm sure, got. So there's got to be somebody who appreciated recognition at some point. Yes.
For people, her brother didn't have children either, because I was looking to, is there somebody I could interview? Like, if I interview you about what you did, can I talk to one of your kids, or a sister, or a brother, or a parent, or whatever? No, there was, but I had the Lyme Regis Museum, the researchers there, and they also, because I thought, I'm going to open the book with, she sells seashells out by the seashore. And I was like, is that about her? And they're like, no, that's not about her. Don't put that in there. I'm like, oh man.
It sounds like it's about her, doesn't it?
It does, but they said no. That's what I went by, so I didn't put it in there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're that busy finding fossils and dinosaurs, you really don't have time to get married and have a family. Let's face it, right? That's
and also she didn't find seashells. That's what they said. No seashells.
No seashells. Just fossils.
That's what the researchers said. Yep.
I'm thinking of like fossilized seashells, but I guess that's like a totally different. That's just a fossil, even if it's a sea. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Research skulls, bones, teeth.
Yeah. Yes. So I still have some more questions. I have a lot of questions. I'm sorry. I go down little rabbit holes and I have a lot of questions. Okay. So she sold this when she was 13. She goes on to her life. Now, does she see that fossil? I'm sure she sees at some point that fossil is getting this recognition, correct? And she says, wait a second, that's the fossil that I discovered, correct?
Right. Follow the Geological Society because of her friend Elizabeth at the journals and newsletters.
Okay. So then she goes forth and she says, wait a second, I'm the one who actually discovered that, correct?
Yeah, not the person that was mentioned. So, I mean, that's wrong. That is totally wrong. And that would bother me. I mean, it would bother anybody if you did something amazing and somebody else got credit for it.
So somebody gets credit and she comes forth and says, that's wrong. It was me. I'm the one who discovered it, right?
Also, it sounded like her friend Elizabeth Philpott. She came from a higher income family, and Elizabeth had connections, and there were a few of the geologists, men geologists, of course, that met Mary. And when people talked to her, they saw, wow, even this 12, 13-year-old girl was very bright, and she could educate people about what this is that she found. So it seemed real. It was real, but it's talking to her. It just seemed like, she knew what she was talking about. She was very well educated.
Of course. And how long, I didn't mean to cut you off there. How long after then that she sold this, did the Geological Society start saying this man discovered this dinosaur?
Several years after, I think also, and I don't have the exact dates, but Charles Dickens even wrote something about her.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
she's known in the UK. She's known here too, but they know her more there because that's where she's from.
Right. So then obviously she died when she was 46, 47. You said being 47. So she spent basically her life then trying to get this recognition that she never realized not until death, correct?
It was a few years later, like a dozen years later, but she kept on fossil hunting. Women didn't, it was very rare. You didn't have a job. You're to get married and have kids and raise them, which is great. But, we knew her brother was going to get a job, like he was going to be an upholsterer. That was what he studied. And he got a job doing that. He didn't go out every single day because he was working as an upholsterer. Right. It sounded like his boss was pretty kind, and his boss had kids too. So he understood, it wasn't like in those London sweatshops.
Yes.
So
that
was fortunate. Yes, that was very fortunate. But this is what she did. She loved being out there. The weather didn't deter her. It could also be like incredibly hot. I don't do summer that well. I don't like the hot.
Good thing you're not on our coast. It does get very humid though on your coast. That's the thing. Hot and humid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But also wearing all those clothes and being out there on the beach and having sand in your fingernails. And I mean, you walk on the beach, you're going to get sand on you. I mean, it's okay, but you're dressed in all that heavy layers, and also in the winter.
That is crazy. Like, I can't imagine that part of it. That is crazy.
Michele, I was wondering, because you're a journalist, you report on all kinds of things. Your resume is rich. What compelled you to write about Mariani?
I mean, I always knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. Well, I had two careers in mind. When I was little, it was like doctor, lawyer, nurse, that a lot of people wanted. I wanted to either be a writer or a veterinarian. Those were the two that.
Me too, Michele. Those were my two. Hey, I knew I liked you.
Well, I was lucky because I grew up in the Bronx, and my mom enrolled me at zoology classes at the Bronx Zoological Society. And so at like Saturday mornings, I was 12 years old. I'd get up, ride the buses. There were 2 buses to get to the Bronx Zoo. And I'd listen to the zoologist talk about a specific animal. And then we got to interact with them. I mean, this was like heaven for me. I mean, truly, truly heaven.
Dang, that sounds like an amazing opportunity. And how precocious that you did that.
No, but I loved that. I mean, and then we got to, in the summer, volunteer. I decided that Central Park was cooler than Manhattan was cooler than the Bronx. So I volunteered there and would give tours in front of different animal cages, talk about the habitats of the hippopotamus or whatever. So, I mean, I enjoyed all that. So I love talking to people and finding about why they did something. And I interviewed people that when I say fall in, I'm happily married, but I mean, I just greatly admired them for what they've done to help either animals or children or the elderly. And that is, it's the way we all should be. And it's, it's a difficult time now. I won't go further than that. But it's nice learning about people. And some of my readers told me about Mariani. And when I found out that this 12-year-old did something which I thought was remarkable, I really wanted to write about her. I wanted to learn more. And I reached out to the Lyme Regis Museum, and their researchers were very helpful. And I decided to fictionalize the story, not the story part, but the dialogue. So yes, Mary was 12. She was born in 1799 at 1811 at age 12. All these were facts that I could find out and do some research on and learn about her life, her daily life, her family, the interactions between them. I made up all the dialogue because there was nobody alive to interview, obviously. I couldn't go back in time. So that would have been really interesting.
Yeah. But I love the way you brought the characters to life. I felt like I knew Mary, I knew Elizabeth, I knew Molly, I knew Richard. You really gave them some depth that
Well,
I
thank you.
appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have there been other books written about Mary?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. The Fossil Hunter is an adult book, and I also read that cover to cover, and that's more of a biography, and it's very, very well done. So,
Gotcha. But how about like a documentary, movie, like they did with Margaret Keane, anything like that?
there's a movie called Night. It came out like a couple of years ago. It's really loosely based. They portray her as a lesbian, which is fine. I don't care, but I don't know if that didn't pertain to my story.
Right. You're right.
So I think that there really isn't a whole lot known about her. And again, more people in the UK know about her than they do here in the States.
Right. Well, she's definitely a Sheela in that she needs more light.
Yes.
She needs more light. More people need to know about Mary Anning. Absolutely. For sure.
I want everybody to know about her. I mean, I really, I fell in love with her. I just really, really loved her story. And I loved her spunk and how she wasn't going to let.
That's a good word for her.
No, you didn't do this. And like, yes, I did. And we all have faced that. And kids, that's why I thought, well, she's 12. I was focused on the first find, and she just had a hard time proving that in the beginning. And I thought that's where the story was. Yes, I could have talked about her later on discovering the pterosaur, but I didn't. I wanted to focus on this, and I thought kids should know about her.
Yeah. And the book is Jurassic Girl. Michelle, where can people find Jurassic Girl? How do they buy it?
You can go to your local bookstore. It is traditionally published, so you can go and ask for your bookstore if they don't have it to order one. You can get it at the library. You can get it at bookshop.org or at the other Books A Million, Amazon, wherever you can buy books, you can ask for it.
I want a Jurassic Girl t-shirt. Do you have any t-shirts?
You have it. My husband made a t-shirt for me.
Well, Jurassic Girl. I love that. That'd be a great t-shirt.
A picture of the ichthyosaurus with the book in its mouth.
Whoa, how great that is. Super cool. That is super cool.
He's very,
it's funny because I keep going back to my daughter is 12, and obviously times are very different. Just picturing my daughter having the patience to, seek out fossils and find it. Yeah.
Right. That was the piece that was part of what I was so moved by, was her connection to her land, her sensitivity, her ability to find what other people couldn't find. You describe a lot of the people that lived in that area would go out and look for fossils, fossil hunt. But she was particularly gifted. She just really seemed to know where to go and what to look for. And again, like had that knowledge. It was above and beyond what everybody else was doing, is how you really described it.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And I think about your passion.
Right.
You might like to do something like that. You might like to cook. You might like to be around animals and study them. You might, I'm not going to get excited about something having to do with technology. I just am not. I'm sorry. I mean, it's important. I'm not making light of it or anything. I don't see myself reading something about that and really retaining it. Whereas I can read something that somebody remarkable does and really that will stick with me. So.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, everybody, I should know my daughter's a volleyball player. So she has found her passion, at least for now. And it's not, dinosaur hunting or fossil hunting, but, she has found her passion. Yeah.
And I really feel that Mary is a perfect Sheela for us. But
Absolutely.
also, Michelle, so are you.
Yes.
Because you unearthed her, and you've unearthed as a journalist many fascinating and important things.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're an amazing Sheela. And we're very grateful to bring some light to you as well. And again, I know I mentioned your website earlier. Why don't you mention that again, Michelle, and any other information about, where people can find some of your writing and such?
I've done a lot of writing for Next Avenue, and unfortunately that's going to be going away soon because it's part of PBS. So, yeah.
I'm very sad.
Great game.
And I've written for the Times, and I've written for my favorite one was The Guardian. I
love The Guardian.
Yeah.
Yes. So I mean, if my name is Google, you can find.
You're gonna get it.
Don't
Yeah.
forget the C and one L.
Michele C. Hollow.
Michelle. Yeah.
Mhm.
C. Hollow. One L.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share with us? This has been such a great conversation. And now I can read the book. I'm very excited.
Good. Yeah, no, I want people to read. I want them to I guess I'd love them to read my book, but I want them to read. I grew up in a household where my dad was a reader, and there are books in front of books on the bookshelves. And if it was your birthday or a holiday or whatever, you got a book. That was it. You just got a book.
So important. And it's sad because it's going away a bit. People aren't reading like they used to.
I think a lot of the kids, though, are still reading. So that's
my daughter's a reader, and that just thrilled me. And she just, for my birthday, she got me bookends. And one side says open a book, and the second side says and fall into it.
Oh, that's so cool.
And not only that, that's exactly what happened when I opened Jurassic Girl.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. My daughter is not much of a reader. There's still time. She's 12, but my son is a voracious reader at 19.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, because what age, I mean, obviously this book is for everyone, but at what age do you think that you could start reading it and appreciate it, just for our listeners?
I was told, because when I wrote it, I thought this is going to be for everyone. I used to write for the Daily News in New York. Okay. So, what is that? A 5th grade reading level, I believe.
Okay. Yes.
But the book they say it's from 4th to 6th grade or 7th grade. But one of the librarians said this is definitely 4th grade material. This is other people in 5th grade, depending on your reading level. But I mean, it's not difficult or anything like that.
Well, it's funny because Missy kept saying that it was for younger people. I'm like, no, it's not for younger people. It's for everyone. And because I felt as an adult, it really spoke to me on a really important level about her tenacity, her lack of recognition, and her determination to just keep going, even when she was not getting the credit she deserved.
Yeah. And I was just, like I said, I haven't even read it, but I was just kind of looking at some of the marketing materials. Like I was looking at it online and stuff, and it seems like it is being called like a little bit of a, like a younger adult kind of book. So that's what I was looking at. She's getting very defensive in her text to me, like, no, this is not a children's book. This is a real Sheela. She was getting very defensive. And I'm like, hey, I haven't even read it. I'm just reiterating what I read online. But the reason I want to point that out too is, if you're a teacher, I think this would be a great book to share with your class. Don't you think?
On many levels.
Yeah.
On several levels. Yeah.
Or a librarian, and and you're looking for material for your bookstore, for your book sale. I think this is a great addition. It's that's why I was asking about that. But of course, it's for everybody. And for somebody like me, it's a little embarrassing. I used to be like a voracious reader. I have children, and I don't read like I used to. I still love to read, but I don't have a lot of time to read, unfortunately. So I tend to read just not like I used to. So a book like yours is very appealing to me, because I looked at it quickly. I kind of looked at it and I was like, oh my God, I think I might be able to read this one. So if you're like me and you're really looking for things to read that aren't going to take up too much time because you really don't have it, if you're maybe a mom or really involved in your job or whatever, it's also probably a good.
Easy. Yeah. Like I said, I was just going to peruse it, and the next thing you know, I was done.
Yeah.
cover to cover.
Yeah.
Michele, it was so fabulous having you on today.
It was lovely to meet you. Thanks for being our Sheela. Thanks for sharing a Sheela. And everybody, thank you for listening, for tuning in. You may have some questions for Michele. You can certainly follow her on social media too. And I'm sure she welcomes all your questions and comments. And so do we, right? So until next time, keep fighting, ladies. Keep fighting.
Keep on.
All right. Thanks for listening. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Unabashed in your